All right, today I'm at our property in Northwest Illinois, and I'm going to walk you through my killing tree segment. Ultimately, why I believe not only this tree that's back behind me, but the area has been the most productive and successful. What I want to start with is why we selected this area of our property, why we selected the tree, why the deer choose to be in this area, and then what we have done over the years to improve this location, including food, water, mock scrapes, and the intel we've gained to ultimately make this one of my best spots. All right, so just like in buying a home, location is key. So why did we select this location? When we were first looking at our aerial maps when we bought this property, we realized that this was a elevated point on our property surrounded by some valleys, which was a good opportunity. We thought there would be some bedding, and over the years we've definitely realized that. We also noticed when we first came in here it was a little bit open, there was just a few trees, so we thought, hey, there's an opportunity to create a kill plot. But even though that would be great to have a kill plot surrounded by bedding, access point. We also have a road that surrounds our property about 200 yards away, off to the northwest, and we can actually get in along that road, park along the road, and there are a couple main trails that we can access and come in from the northwest, sneak into the north side of this actual kill plot, and get into our stand. So access point, and I think Todd and Justin covered it pretty well, but that is most critical. No matter what you do, if you want to have a consistent spot over the years, you have to have great access point. So once we realized we had the access point and we could create a small kill plot, we started looking at and gaining intel on, well, where's the deer travel going to be? So there's bedding off to the north, there's bedding to the east, and there's bedding to the south. So when they're bedding, ultimately that's where they're going to come to after the evening, so early mornings. So a lot of times we'll see deer traveling from our main food plots from the east and the south here and working their way through this kill plot down into the bedding. And then in the evenings, they're coming out of bedding, working their way up into this kill plot and towards our main food points. The reason that we liked this kill plot, and ultimately kill plots are a great strategy, is the big bucks, right? During the rut, you'll see them running. You can find them in the middle of the day. But early October, early November, you know, they're really cautious. And what they're going to do is they got to work and they got to eat as well, but they're going to wait for their decoys to go out. You guys always have those does that come out in the field, and those things are just looking all over the place. You got the fawns that come out, the younger ones, then you got the does that are kind of looking around, and then what do you know, it gets dark and here comes that big buck. So what we did here is these kill plots are great opportunities to have deer that'll come out of bedding, but ultimately they're nice and tucked away before they get out to the main plots and they feel safe. So they'll come in here and you have an opportunity to harvest a big buck before it gets dark. All right, so I want to talk about the actual stand. It's actually up over my shoulder here on the right, and it's sitting in a really old oak tree. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be, or it's on its way out. I don't know how many years we have left, but we've put a ladder stand, and we've always had a ladder stand in there because it was difficult to get a hang on, and I'll kind of show you up close a little bit here. It was hard to get a hang on up in these branches, so the ladder made the most sense for us. And we have this location set up for a southwest wind. Often we get southwest winds here in Illinois, and so what ends up happening is we have this stand kind of in the northeast corner of the plot. That way when we have southwest winds, it ends up blowing our wind over the valley. Now obviously in the evenings you're going to have your wind, it's going to draw down, but we have the best opportunity because they typically come from the east and work their way to the west. And if we have our wind out of the south, it kind of blows it to the north. And even if they come from that way, a lot of times I've had deer walk under me and we're just up high enough with the elevation that the wind actually blows over those main trails if they do kind of come under us. If we don't have southwest winds, what we've done in this area is we've actually added another stand location, and it's on the very south side of the plot. That way, if we have northwest winds and they still come from the east and work their way through here, in the evenings, we have an opportunity to harvest them without getting busted. If we hunt this in the mornings, a lot of times they're coming from our food plots and working their way from the west back towards the east through bedding. Same thing, they're following these same trails. We've got a main trail off to the south here. It's kind of open and it enters the food plot and it walks the south border of the property, or of the kill plot. And they also will come and walk just this north side before they tuck in back into bedding. So we've got it kind of covered here, but between the two stand locations. Okay, so I talked about the two different stand locations set up for the winds. But one of the other pieces of intel that we've learned over the years in this area, when we're set up in the stand here, this main killing tree, the bedpost, and if they decide to walk the south line, it's going to be a quartering, and they come in the evenings and they come from the east to the west. It's ultimately going to be a quartering away shot at about 45 yards. And we would have a lot of deer and even bucks that would be kind of cruising through when we get to the rut or even early on in the season. And what would happen is you'd have a tough shot, and you'd have to ultimately be stopping them quartering away, and you only have about a 10-yard area where you have to stop them in and make a good shot. Well, if you stop them, they're on alert. That's just difficult to pull off. So what we've done is enhance this location, and I would say about 12 years ago, I ended up putting in a mock scrape over here. And I've had that thing running every single year, and usually now is when I put the mock scrape out, and I'll show you that here. But what I ended up doing here is it helps if they come from that estate of the south side of the property, they're actually drawn up towards the middle just to check that scrape. And honestly, I can say that that has brought big bucks closer to me, and it was one of the reasons why I successfully harvested a buck we called Lucky right before my daughter was going to be born. That buck came in from the south and worked up to that scrape, and as he was hitting the scrape, I was able to put an arrow in him. And that wouldn't have happened. I don't believe that would have happened, because the only other travel corridor is really to the south that they're coming from that area, and I would have tried to have to stop them and make a 45 or a 50-yard shot. So there are things that you could do to enhance and make it a killing tree to improve your odds and success of getting a nice, close, ethical shot. And putting in that mock scrape was absolutely one of them. So the mock scrape helps, as they, early on or late October, November, but as you really start out the season, if you want to have the opportunity to hunt it early in the season, here in Illinois, and it's hot, and so what we've done is actually install a water tub, and it helps draw it in the air. We don't have water on the property, so we've bought these big tubs, and you can see it back over here, and we fill this up every year. And what we ended up doing is we kind of draw deer into this. So we got does, we got fawns, we actually have a lot of wildlife that come through and enjoy the water. So it's just another thing that we've done to enhance this location to increase the odds of drawing deer into this area. The last and most critical piece to this kill plot is the food plot and the food that we plant in here. We just cut and sprayed this a week and a half ago, and we're going to till it up. And this year we're going to ultimately be planting the rack fuel, own the season. And this ultimately has a blend of alfalfa, chicory, and 4 varieties of clover. And this is something that you can plant either in June or August for the north here, or April through June, or August through September. And we're about to be in the August month, and so we're going to be planting it here within the next 2 weeks. What that ends up doing is it just, as we get towards the season, it'll be a nice lush green plot, and it's something we see a lot of the does come in. As they come off of bedding, they'll take a little munch here before heading out to our main food plots. And that repetition, the bucks know, right? The bucks know that the does are in this area, and so ultimately come the fall, it'll draw them to this area as they look to scent check, not only the bedding, but they'll come up and check this out. And that's really what has helped create this area as one of the most successful. Not only did I have that buck come through that I just mentioned about hitting the mock scrape, but then Skyrocket many years ago, he came in through dog and does. Again, the does came into the food plot, he knew they were there, came up through and was dogging them, and I was able to make a shot at 35 yards, successful shot from that tree. I also had, and unfortunately I didn't get an opportunity at him, but I had another buck that came in here again through the rut. The does were coming in this area. He came up to check them out and was pushing them through. We see that a lot in this area, and I think it all comes down to planning a food plot, bringing it in here and putting it in an area that they feel comfortable transitioning in before they make it out to the main food plots. I walked you through the location, why we selected this location on our property, why we picked the stands, what we've done to enhance the area, and now, just like every other year, it's time to put up a cell cam. I'm going to unbox a new Deceptor. I'm going to put it out back over where I'm going to refresh the mock scrape and start gaining intel. Now obviously we don't have the food plot here yet, but like I said, we've got the water tub, and I'm going to start seeing what type of deer we have in this area and get the intel so that at the end of the day I can continue to have this being my most productive killing tree. I harvest another big buck this season. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Good luck preparing for the season. The more work that you do now increases your odds come the fall. Bow hunter die. Well, good morning everybody. It is, I don't know, July 11th? Where am I at? Location is key, just like when you're buying a home. Location, yep. My God, what the